Peter Wittig is one of the co-founders of Motive.io. Using Motive's platform, he helps enterprise launch and scale their XR training initiatives. And with that, Peter, if you wouldn't mind turning on your webcam and joining us for your presentation.
Yeah, I'm Peter Wittig. Good to be here with all of you today. I'm from Milwaukee originally, and now I'm in Vancouver, BC. At Motive.io, we make an enterprise XR training platform, which we call the Motive XMS. It's a bit of an homage to a CMS or an LMS, and we've been going with the line the LMS for XR. So we, along with some of the others, I believe Dee mentioned it as well, and Peter, we've talked in the past too, but being able to access these experiences in a lot of different places, making sure that the data that is produced goes where it needs to go. We very much focus on the enterprise market, but in addition to that, we have a really strong partner program where we like to work with a lot of other XR training companies. We find that and are of the opinion that no XR company has everything that an enterprise needs. And so the more you can work well with other XR players, the better it works out for the client and then for the industry as a whole. So here are a few of our clients. I'll pepper this deck with a couple of stories as we go along, but cuts across industry. And I think of XR training like a spreadsheet. No one says, hey, I need the mom and pop bakery spreadsheet, or I need the law firm spreadsheet, or I need the hedge fund spreadsheet. Everyone knows if you just use it for what it's good for, a spreadsheet will work well in all of those. And much the same with XR training. If you use it for what it's good for, it works in a wide range of industry. So the Motive XMS, what we really aim to do is be a nice bit of connective tissue. And it's a piece of infrastructure that you can run on a shared instance that we've got. You can host it yourself. But what we want to do is say, you've got a whole bunch of content. Maybe you made that content with our tools. Maybe you made it with someone else's. Doesn't matter, but all that data can flow back to our system. Maybe you've got users that you want to do a POC with, or maybe you want to integrate directly with your LMS using something like SSO. That's all possible too. Maybe you need to get that data out into something like Power BI, or you need the records to flow directly to your LMS or LRS. We can handle that as well. So really just being this nice piece of infrastructure that can make the data that you're producing and the training that your people are using useful and integrated into the other systems you're using to track, to better learn and understand how this is benefiting your company. Take a lot of time and effort to be able to meet the security requirements of a large enterprise. This is a great way to partner with other XR companies as well. We've never failed an IT SOC review. If you want to host, you want to use our platform on AWS or Azure, that's fine. You want your own private cloud instance, that's fine. We can manage it for you. You want to manage it and you just want the install scripts, you can do that too. We found there's usually clients have tried XR at one point, and sometimes they have pilots that went really well, but then they run up against IT and the whole thing is over at that point. We can then say, we've got a way for you to bring that content on through our platform. And then that company that made that content is going to be able to make more because it went well. It can roll it out at a larger scale. And one of those everybody wins scenarios. Everybody's getting better training and it all moves through. So focusing on getting past and getting into an enterprise is really a large part of what we do. So we'll talk a bit about some of the tools that we've got for building and for learning. We've noticed that large enterprises typically want to do a POC or a pilot first. So we built all of these tools to be able to manage users, to manage content, to directly get people into tools. And so you could do all that with the platform. As soon as that pilot goes well and you could show that the data proves that's the case, they say, okay, I need to integrate this with my LMS, or I want this to go, the XAPI to go to my LRS. We're ready to go right away. So if you're using SCORM or XAPI, we can integrate out of the box. It's not any writing code. We do it on a per standards basis. So as long as your LMS supports one of those, we're ready to go when you are. The launcher app, we put a lot of time and effort into making sure that it is a learner, when they put on a headset, usually, we want them to get into the content that they need to train in as fast as possible. And so we developed this Launchpad app that can give them access to any number of modules that will open not only the right APK, but it will open directly to the right module that they've been assigned. So they can go to the LMS that they're used to using, get a code, or we're looking at doing cool QR code scans with that as well, with the headset, and it will immediately put you right into it. One of our clients, Johnson, was a big fan of this, and that's really helped their learners access the content faster. So the SDKs, we've got a few different ones. I mentioned that scenario where maybe a large enterprise has done a pilot with a company and that company wasn't able to pass ITsec, but there was a great pilot. They can use our Lightweight SDK to quickly integrate with our platform. We'll pass ITSec reviews, and then all of a sudden that content that other XR company made can be used right away. So they're going to go in, get the benefit of that. They'll usually get more services work as a result. So we don't want any sunken costs. You don't want to lose any momentum with an enterprise. If something's working, you got to find a way to keep that thing working and expand the way it works within that organization. So Lightweight SDK is that. The full SDK complements our authoring tool, and I'll talk a bit about that as we go. Our authoring tool is unique. I don't know of another one that's quite like it. The way we've approached it is, I say most VR training is built like a music box, and if you ever want to change the tune, you send it back to the person who made the machine. Our approach is you build a 3D environment, and that's your stage or your theater. And you can make it do anything that Unity or Unreal allows you to do. Completely custom map whatever you want. Then that can be hooked to a web-based drag and drop authoring tool. So every feature you need to have and want to have, you can build. And then that can be controlled by a team. And what it lets people do is the XR developers can work in parallel with the L&D people. So the L&D people are able to create and iterate the content once they get the first build. And then the Unity and Unreal folks can then just keep iterating on the builds and creating more content. Now there are all-in-ones where they've got tools, but I'd say all-in-ones is if the app does what you need, it's great. And if it doesn't, waiting for their roadmap. Where other ones are saying, hey, I've got node-based editors inside of Unity or Unreal. And that either makes it so a trainer needs to kind of learn a bit more Unity and Unreal. Our approach was to say both of those groups should have a first-class tool to doing what it is that they need to do. Having said all that, this is totally optional. It's a really cool tool, and one of our energy company clients who we had up on the slides before, they can produce their content a lot faster, and that's the stat coming from that large energy company. But most of our clients just use the platform. And if you want use another content authoring tool, by all means do it. You can then send the data back through our platform, integrate with their systems, and we're very happy to do that too. Let's jump right into a bit of AI. Matt was asking about this, so we'll talk a bit about it. So we've got it's a large kind of retailer. It's a nationwide retailer in Canada, and they were doing warehouse picking training. And the cool thing about that is when you reduce training by a certain percentage, it really has a knock-on effect. So if someone goes to the warehouse, picks the wrong item, and sends it off, that triggers a return, and then that costs money. So by reducing it by 10%, it saves $18 million a year. What they wanted then was this cool AI, of the ROI side, but what they wanted was an AI assistant inside of there that knew the procedures and you could talk to it about it. So we implemented that, and it was pretty cool. You could talk to it in English, French, Hindi, or Punjabi, and it will kind of seamlessly just be able to pick up on whatever you're doing and talk to you about the training. What was interesting is when we built that, other companies have expressed an interest, but what's pretty cool is they then say, you know what, hey, I like this AI, it's pretty cool. I want to use it not in VR. I want to use it just as a little chat bubble, like on a site on my network, or I want to use it with a video training avatar that I've already built something out with. And so we built out a whole other piece of the platform called Motive Intelligence Studio, which allows you to manage, create, and then quickly deploy whatever agents that you want or AI assistants wherever you need them to be. I thought Dee's made a good point there, saying in-context learning, and we very much think the same thing. I agree with her there. One of the things we found about AI as well is the two things people ask us the most about is latency and cost. We use conversational AI, which is chatbot style from before GenAI, and with GenAI, everyone wants that now. But the old conversational AI, you can use in conjunction with it. Most of the time, there are a set of FAQs that people will ask again and again. And so one of the tools we've created is called like an FAQ agent. And you can use conversational AI, this cheaper, faster AI for those FAQs. And then if it's not in there, it uses the Gen AI to then get the answer it needs at that point. So it's blending these two things to get people what they want and also reduce the cost and improve the speed. ROI. Funny thing is we had a client who said you must integrate with our LMS, and we put a lot of time into that. And those are the tools we have now. And then the minute we did that, they said, we hate our LMS. What else do you have? And so we created a lot of dashboards that allow you to track, of course. And for people who have not done an integration, or doing their pilot or the POC, they need a way to prove that this is working. And whatever metric it is that you've chosen to track, you can show that it is indeed being moved by the new training that you're doing. I would say that most people just import the data into Power BI, make their own reports. That's totally possible too. Assessments. So if you want to do assessments and score them, XAPI, and then we can do additional assessments there. And all that can then funnel right back to where you're going. But it's easy if you're using our authoring tool to add that. If you're using our lightweight SDK, you can just add a line of code and then that will send it off as well. Again, one of those very large energy companies that was on our first slide said the reason we use Motive, other than the security credentials, is that you do a really good job of separating the software and the data and making it easy for us to get the data into whatever other system we need. And I'd never thought of it that way, but it was an interesting point, and I was glad you brought it up. So good way to separate the data. So anyways, whether you're making XR, whether you're an enterprise yourself, love to chat. And if you're making XR for those enterprises, maybe we can help. We very much work with everyone we can to make sure that the end client gets what they need for their team. And I think the more the merrier, and the more inclusive, the better off that winds up being. That's all I got on that. So thanks, everyone.